You know what I find fascinating? How many of you remember the 2016 internet? It wasn't that long ago, right? I'm willing to bet that if you took someone from 2016 with a time machine and you showed them the Twitter that is today, they would say that it's a fascist website. That they would not be able to believe the level of censorship. They would wonder, why are people using this? Like, isn't it horrible? Why are you normalizing this? And then you realize that actually Twitter is the one that has the most free speech out of the major platforms. Like, it actually allows for more freedom of expression, more opinions. It has what the leftists salivate over: diversity. You can literally find like a lot of takes on Twitter. And this would be normal and healthy in a free and just society, but unfortunately we do not live in a free and just society. We live under the concept of book burnings. The citizens should not be allowed to have access to information, even if it's legal. That is the correct mentality, which is stemming from Brussels. Which begs the question, like, when Nazis were burning books, why are historians complaining? Because apparently we're doing it today. Right? If you guys remember, like, during the pandemic, that there were books being taken down Amazon, and apparently now, the modern concept of book burning is to take down information so that the public doesn't have access to. Because at the end of the day, that was the purpose of book burning as well. It's like there is some information that is so dangerous in these books that they poison the mind of the public, and we cannot allow mature individuals to have access to them, so we're just going to burn it to make sure that the information is never disseminated. And this is literally what they're trying to do with Twitter now, right? And it's fascinating that they're not trying to do this with Facebook, or that they're trying to do this with other social media platforms. And it reminds me of the same situation that happened with Parler. So Parler comes out, and apparently it's all of a sudden under attack. They said that, oh, well, they were organizing January 6th on it. The other companies immediately took measure and got Parler to shut down exactly when it was becoming popular and it was becoming a competitor to Twitter. So in the end, turns out that, oh, they were organizing it on Facebook and Twitter. It wasn't Parler. Oh, oopsie. And by the time Parler came back, no one was interested in it anymore. So they literally just stomped down on it. And this is what I see that is being done with Twitter. At the end of the day, I don't believe that they are worried about the alleged illegal content that is going on the platform. No, they are worried over the fact that people can express opinions. That they are worried that in the European Union, especially in Germany now, farmers are protesting. There are multiple right-wing parties that are assembling, and they're fighting back against the green environmentalism that is coming from the EU, which is lowering the standard of living of most people, and it's currently fucking with the farmers and the middle class. So people are upset that they're trying to voice their concerns in a democratic society, and they're trying to elect their right-wing representatives. So in order for this to stop happening, the left can't just allow people to just normally organize, so they're going to just try to cut down their way of talking to each other. And when it comes to platforms like Facebook, when it comes to platforms that Google has, this can be done with tinkering with the algorithm. It can be done with talking with the people who work there, as we saw with the Twitter files. But what do you do when the platform tells you to fuck off? Like, what do you do with someone like Elon Musk? Well, apparently, since you can't get him on your side, then you're going to try to push for legal action. So what is the legal action about? Well, the European Union has the Digital Service Act, which is very interesting that none of the journalists or the academics complain that it is actual fascismus. You actually get to decide on banning the internet. I remember like 10 years ago, we would look at China and we would laugh at what they are doing, and they would be like, oh, well, at least we're in the European Union. We have democracy and freedom here. Now you don't really have that. You have safetyism. So the Digital Service Act apparently allows for the European Union to crack down on companies on 4 potential infringement. So the first one is the dissemination of illegal content. Now, believe it or not, it's not child pornography. Like when Twitter was doing that back in the day, the European Union didn't have much to complain. Now they're complaining about the war in Israel, right? Because if you guys remember, when the thing took place, there were a lot of viral videos that were being shown. And many of them were graphic. Now, the European Union believes that people like myself and you shouldn't have access to see them. They believe that only they should see them. I don't know, is it a fetish or something? Like, only the people from the European Union get to see this? Like, what do they have that we don't, is my question. I believe that seeing such content is actually good. Why? Because people should know what war really is. Like, people should actually understand what they want. I remember when Russia went into Ukraine, there were a lot of people on Twitter that were saying, oh, we need to have NATO intervene. Like, every single NATO country needs to go into Ukraine. And I was saying, like, if these people would actually understand what they're asking, if these people would actually understand what actual war is like, they would be horrified. They would never ask for something like this. But unfortunately, we have been through a time of long peace and prosperity where most people don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And unfortunately, those people vote. So maybe they should see just how horrible war is. And in the case of Israel, like, maybe they should see what Hamas was doing so that they're a little bit more informed. But apparently, the European Union disagrees with this take. They're like, nope. Like, if you're a citizen, you should not have access to that. Like, why? Is it illegal to see it? Well, in Romania, it's not, but I guess, like, if the European Union decides that it should be illegal for European Union member states, then, well, the fuck does it matter how do I vote for my Romanian country? Apparently, the European Union decided to be an empire overnight, transformed it itself from a trade agreement. That's how it started, didn't it? Like, it started as a trade agreement, and all of a sudden it's like this empire over Europe, an empire for good, it was called by Klaus Juncker. So anyway, second, measures to combat information manipulation. Now, everyone that uses Twitter is aware of the community notes, which are far superior than any of the other fact checkers that other social media companies employ. They are superior than Facebook. They are superior than YouTube. The reason that they have them, and it works, is because it's democratic. Like, you actually allow the people to claim what is true and what isn't. And the reality is that this other social media companies, and I would say that even the EU itself, has no interest in combating misinformation. Like we actually saw in the Twitter files, where they said that even if the information is true, if it contravenes the government mandates, you take it down. That is what they care about. It's about power and control. So they hate Twitter because of the community notes, which, by the way, have fact-checked Elon Musk himself. Now, they're claiming basically that they're not acting fast enough. So in the context of elections and in the context of other things, they're not being taken down. I would like to point out that if you're a newspaper, right, like if you are the printing press and you just write whatever misinformation you want during, before, or after an election, it doesn't fucking matter. Only a fascist government would try to crack down on the freedom of the press. Like, it would be viewed as a Naziist thing to do, to crack down on a publication. At least here in Romania. I don't know how it's like in Germany. I assume things are different there. How is the Lügenpresse in Germany? Because, like, here, after benefiting from communism, if someone is even talking about censoring a publication, he would be viewed as an extremist. Like, people are aware, yeah, it's a newspaper. It's going to say whatever it wants. Like, they have the freedom of the press. Then they talk about the deceptive design of X-user's interface, the blue check mark, a paid-for continuation promoted by Elon Musk that designates a user as an active, notable, and authentic member of the platform. I haven't really looked into what they mean by this, but I'm sure that if it's something regarding the blue check mark, this is probably an easy fix. Maybe they will get a fine and they will change it if they're found guilty. Measures to increase transparency amid suspected failure to provide researchers with adequate access to X's publicly accessible data. Like, if I'm not mistaken, X's algorithms are open source now. So I generally, don't know what they're talking about. But again, like this is another easy fix, all right? Like, they will just show them. The thing that's not an easy fix is the one with the illegal content. Like, first of all, I disagree with it on a principle basis. Again, unless it's child pornography, I do not think that it should be restricted from the internet. Maybe there are some more exceptions that I didn't think about it, but I think, like, the mindset of a free and just society would be for the public to have access to more information rather than less. And it should definitely not be up to the for-profit platforms to decide what is illegal content and what isn't. Again, like the exception of CP, because that one is understandable. You know, like maybe other things that are of sexual nature, like making sure that you age gate between 18 and non-18-year-old, making sure that if someone has like a video of them posted online and they want it to be taken down because they're in a porn movie, okay, fine. But again, like the mentality should be as much information as possible for the citizens rather than as less as possible. So what is the problem with this? Well, the problem with this is that first of all, if it's happening to Twitter, then it shows that no platform is going to be able to have free speech anymore, right? Like the 2016 era of the internet is never coming back. All the platforms on the internet are going to be heavily regulated, even if they're American, because you may say, well, yeah, but like Twitter is a US platform. The reality is that Twitter wants to make money, and all of the social media platforms want to do the same. So they will have to abide by the EU standard. So whether it's Rumble, whether it's, I don't know, BitChute, whether it's like any other platform, eventually they will have to follow EU standard or they're going to be banned from the EU. And they can't afford to lose such a market. Like, for comparison, just so you understand the power that an authoritarian place like the European Union has over American companies, think about how big America is on LGBT issues, right? Like, they're almost everywhere. In every TV show, in every comic book, except for movies, right? Like, when you look at Hollywood, when you look at the big blockbuster, you will notice that it's not just like LGBT content that's missing, but it's also the content that you would see in the 90s. Like, in the 90s, I remember you'd see titties on the big screen. Like, remember Starship Troopers? There's a scene where all the ladies are walking around chest naked. And that wasn't something shocking. It was considered a movie for a mature audience. So you had like gratuitous gore in Starship Troopers. You had titties. But I wouldn't say it's a movie that you would be ashamed to watch with your mother, right? At the Christmas gathering. It's like, okay, let's watch Starship Troopers. It's not something that you'd be ashamed of watching, right? So why don't we see movies like that anymore? And the reason is China. Like if you want to make movies now and you want to sell them to China, you have to censor based on China's desires. Which means that no nudity, no LGBT content, and look how America is obliging. Regardless that every single actor is promoting, social justice and they're talking about how important LGBT issues are, when it comes to the big screen, they're catering to China. So my point is, if the European Union manages to do this, if they manage to actually tackle Twitter, they're going to have the power to do this in the future. And all of the social media websites, regardless if they're in the US or not, they're going to have to abide by EU regulations. I personally believe that the EU wanted to crack on big tech since 4 years ago. And now they're taking advantage on the fact that Twitter isn't owned by Jack Dorsey. That they're thinking that Elon Musk isn't in the in-group with the establishment. And it's a good opportunity to single Twitter out in order to flex its muscle and to have what they like to call digital sovereignty. Interesting how the European Union gets to have sovereignty when you talk about the EU as a whole, but when it comes about the member states, not so much. The main problem that you have with this is that the EU isn't producing anything worthwhile on the internet, as far as I know. Like, all of the big tech companies are American, which is very interesting. If you're going to get rid of stuff, what are you going to replace it with? And the answer is probably nothing. The thing is, like, Twitter isn't really that popular in the European Union as well, so probably that's why they singled it out. If they would have gone for YouTube or Facebook, they would have had much more difficulty trying to push for it. But again, what is going to happen is that once they put their foot on the door and they get to bully Twitter, the other companies are going to be next. And it's interesting how they're not bullying TikTok, right? It's interesting how they're not going after Twitch, which are platforms that, in my opinion, are far more radical than Twitter. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.